In this game, Aaron, you were white. You had a rating of 927, and your opponent had a rating of 971.
Wow.
And it was played on the 27th of June 2023. So only less than a week ago. We're recording this video on the 3rd of July 2023.
See, 921, I was rated.
927.
920. See, that ain't too bad, is it, Rick, really?
Well, it is fantastic. That's well, this is 63 points from your target. So
Yeah.
we can't
If I
quite open the champagne yet, but it's getting close.
We can start looking at the menu, I'll tell you that. But like, if I can just work on a few of those things, I'll be honest, like, my morale is a bit low at the moment. I've lost nearly 100 points, and whatever. But if I can work on those few things, take my bloody time. Who knows, man? You know what I mean?
Well, that is really, and we talked about it many times also through messages. If you take your bloody time, indeed, then yeah, or play a different time control. If you don't want to use 10 minutes, then you can play a 5-minute game, Um,
Yeah.
because the advantage is that your opponent then also only has 5 minutes. So it's not that you give him, because also this game, which is 29 moves long, and you finish with 8 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. That's
Yeah,
4
it's not.
seconds per move, and that's just,
I'll stick with this time control because my aim is to tackle it. So I'll stick with this
yeah, okay.
and we'll keep going. But yeah, we'll move on to this game. Thanks for listening,
Let's have
Rick.
a look. E4, E5, knight f3, knight c6. The opening, I have hardly anything to say because both players develop their pieces like they should. He plays h6. I think, it looks a bit strange, but also it takes bishop g5, pinning the knight out of the
I,
position. So,
I see a lot of this now. These moves to prevent me pinning the knight.
yeah. So it cost him a move that he cannot use for development, but at the same time, it's a bit
Yeah.
annoying that bishop g5 in this type of opening can be tricky, can be annoying. So
Would
I
you
understand.
advise? Like, would you ever advise me to play h6 or would you say no?
No, you can do it. I'm just quickly, while you're asking me that question, quickly look at my database, how many times h6 has been played. Actually, it is the second most popular move at grandmaster level. d6 is the most popular move. And we
Mm,
understand that one. You're going to get your bishop into the game.
yeah,
But h6 is the second most popular move. So I guess the answer to your question is yes, that is a good move to play.
yeah,
And I guess the same would then apply with h3 for white to make sure you don't get a bishop there pinning your knight. So those are possible. Okay, you castled, d6, rook e1, bishop g4, and pinning your knight. He decided to kick it now, but of course he can go to h5 and keep the pin there. Bit annoying, but not the end of the world at all. Although it will become a bit more serious later, but here everything is still fine. Bishop e3 developing, very good. He castled, and yeah, now this is of course a different difficult moment in the game. You've got everything developed. You've castled your king. You've centralized your one of your rooks. All your minor pieces are happy, and now it's about making a plan. That's one of the most difficult things in chess. Once you have done all your developing, what do you do next?
mm,
Yeah, so you played bishop takes c5, swapping a piece. I guess a move like knight d5 is also possible. And I just gave a possible idea. You might want to try and play c3 and d4 to get another pawn in the center. That's a possible plan. So just to show you one idea that you could have played here instead of swapping on c5. Does that make sense? The knight d5 idea with dc3 and d4.
yeah,
Okay. Bishop takes c5 was played. He recaptured, of course, and yeah, the only little problem is that if you ever want to play d4, That will be difficult with those pawns there. You know, they both pawns now control d4, so your d3, d4 pushing in the center is a plan that will probably not come to fruition.
Yeah.
Knight d5. By the way, there's nothing wrong with your position. Everything is fine. It's about equal. Knight d4. And now we need to do attackers versus defenders, and we see that the knight is pinned on on f3, but it's attacked twice, but it's also defended twice, so we're still okay. But here you played a bad one. You played knight takes f6 check after 5 seconds, and after queen takes f6, he's now attacking that knight 3 times, and it's only defended twice. So this is a critical moment. What can you do here to protect the knight a third time? Because the knight cannot play.
Rook to e3.
Yeah, rook e3 is possible. It's a bit clumsy. It's not great. After knight takes f3 check, to avoid losing material, you have to take the pawn. And as we talked about in the previous game, the pawn structure being shattered is not such a big deal if the queens are off the board. But in this case, the queens are on the board. And now your king is not very happy on g1. So black is better here. He doesn't have extra material, but that king is now...
Is there a better move than rook e3?
No, I don't think so. After queen takes f6, you're already in trouble. But if we go one move back, when there were only 2 pieces attacking, because with knight takes f6 check, you invite another piece to attack your knight, and that's why it's a bad move. Let's look at this again, and let me get rid of the arrows. Let's have a look at this for a second. So that knight is pinned, is attacked twice. It's under pressure. What is a way to alleviate that pressure somewhat?
I'm just guessing rook to e3 now.
Yeah, rook e3 is possible now. Yeah, still not great. I looked at this line, knight takes f3 check. You have to take with the pawn. And then the queen, after knight takes d5, he swaps, and his queen can come to h4. And we have a little bit the same problem with the shattered pawn structure in front of your king, and the queen still on the board. This is also quite nice for black. So, anything else that you can think of apart from rook e3?
So what can I do to add another defender to f3?
Yeah, I don't think you can do anything there, but you can get rid of some pressure on that knight. Don't know if that helps.
Pawn to g4.
Yes, that's the best move. That's actually the only good move in the position. I asked the engine for some help here. g4 is the only good move here because the engine recognizes that knight takes f3 or bishop takes f3 was a bit of a threat. Okay, we don't really want to play up our pawns in front of our king too much, but here I think it has to be done. And here white is okay. He has to play... I guess the problem is he cannot... If he saves his bishop, then this guy is just falling off the board. See that? That guy's unprotected. Suddenly that knight that was pinned is stealing a pawn there. So here he has to take on f3. And you just recapture, and he plays bishop g6. And it's okay. You can even maybe do some damage to his structure with knight takes f6, queen takes, and g takes. Again, here it's not a big problem for black because the queens are off the board. But you know, this is at least white is perfectly fine here.
It's amazing how like I have a certain view of the games at my level, but then you come along and like in Narnia when you open the cupboard and it leads to the Disney film, it comes to like a whole new different world.
What's the name of that film?
Narnia.
Oh, I have to watch it. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's basically some kids find a wardrobe and they open the wardrobe and go through the wardrobe. It's like an animal kingdom land. and that's how I feel here. But you've gone, oh no, look through this wardrobe, and it's a whole different world.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
with chess, like you said, oh no, it's not the end of the world because look, there's this. Like I was in a sticky situation. You've got if you go a bit lefty and you go a bit right, you take this roundabout. Oh look, and it's great. Of course, it is. It gives me hope, but it's like man, like oh no, when will I get to? I know I can't say, but it's happy, but it makes you sad because like you're like wow, it makes you feel thick.
Well, okay. That's not good because you're not. I prepared this game. I had the help of an engine, but I guess also I've seen similar positions so many times, and that the
Yeah,
pressure on f3 is very annoying. Um, and then you have to look at a move like g4 because and again you have to look at it in a concrete position because sometimes g4 might not work because the position is slightly differently, and this is actually worse. But yeah, concrete calculation. At least the pressure against f3 is gone. The pawn on e5 is hanging suddenly, and it's not hanging here because the knight is pinned on f3. You're not really attacking that guy because your knight is pinned. And after g4, you are attacking that guy, so he doesn't have time to save his bishop. He needs to take first. So it's quite forced. Bishop g6 is now forced, and then this whole line is not so difficult to calculate. But then you need to, at the end of it, say, is this okay for me? Or did I not drop any material here? Um, but at least you have seen the idea now, because in e4, e5 openings, this type of pressure on the f3 knight can happen quite a bit. So
yeah. It's beautiful how you like move the pieces. It's like ice skating. It's very fluid, very nice. A little bit of a twirl with your partner. You know what I mean? It's all lovely the way you play, man.
yeah, well, thank you. It's also very very remarkable about Bobby Fischer, the world champion from the 1970s. His level of play, of course, was somewhere high in the sky compared to normal chess players, but he was able to make the game look so easy.
Yeah,
Exactly what you say there. He just like everything he did. So, oh yeah, I would have played that. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's not so difficult. He made something that is quite difficult look very easy. That was part of the magic of Bobby Fischer. It's quite remarkable.
yeah. How long have you been playing chess for now, Rick?
Well, I joined the club, so I was always interested in chess, but I just played at home and I had a few chess books. But I joined the club in 1986.
Wow, 86.
Yeah, that was when there was still, of course, there was no
36
online
years ago.
chess, and there were the clocks were, analog clocks, with the what do you call it, with the dial and that little
Yeah,
flag at the top that if the flag went to 12 and then went past 12, the flag dropped and then you had lost on time.
36 years ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, you weren't
So
born yet, I know.
no, no, no. It's brilliant to hear these stories as well. But so what happened? Where am I now then? So I've done something wrong, most likely.
Yeah, so you took on f6 here, and that's inviting another piece to attack that poor knight. And now it's too late for g4. Have a look. Why is it now too late for g4? Let's say he played g4. Um,
Just too many things going on. Like if he takes,
takes takes where
we
with
check.
what?
If either way, I'm losing material because if he takes with his knight, it's a fork, and I'm losing the rook. If I take, I'm losing my queen.
Yeah, exactly. And then he saves his bishop, something like that. So it's too late for g4 after queen takes f6, and the only move here is rook e3. We already had a quick look at that. And after
Yeah,
knight takes f3 check, g takes f3, you just keep it together. But this is nice for black with the shattered pawn structure and the queen still on the board. So, but this is probably the best you can do and
yeah.
battle on. But what you did is worse. You made it worse because after queen takes f6, you played c3, inviting the knight to take on f3. That c3 move doesn't do anything to help your position. So he took with the bishop, attacking your queen, so you don't have time to take his knight. She takes, knight takes check, and it's a disaster because we see a similar line. And now he has won. He's an exchange up. Game goes on, queen h4. He's not only an exchange up, also your king is a bit unhappy. And h3 is now hanging. This pawn is attacked. You played bishop d5. Attacking b7. He kicked your bishop, and you went back. Yeah, I guess instead of bishop d5, you could have played something like queen e3, at least keep the pawn protected.
Yeah, that's a nice move.
But it's still bad. You just material down, and you have an unsafe king. The difference between the kings in this position is quite remarkable. Black's king is super safe. White's king is super unsafe. If he gets his rook into the game, that king will be very vulnerable. So let's see, bishop d5, c6, bishop back. He took with check. The king goes on a run. b5, bishop back, a5, d4. Okay, you're trying, you're always fighting. That is one of your strengths. a4 is not trapping the bishop because you just can drop back. Take, take, take. Another pawn for black. Yeah, it's hard to give white any advice here. You just busted. Queen d2, rook e8, bringing the pieces to the party. You take a pawn. The nice expression, a dying man can eat anything. And that is also one of these chess expressions. Queen g4 check. Yeah, I guess you should go to f1 here, but it's still horrific. You went to d2, and now you're standing in a skewer. And he played it.
That's another thing I'm picking up on. I know this is not my best session, but one of the things I'm picking up on is that just after I've played it, I realised that it's a skewer, or I realised myself. Where before I'd play and go, oh, it's pinned. When now, just as I play, I'm like, oh, damn, I put myself in a skewer.
Yeah. So the next step will be to see it before you play the move.
Exactly. And can I ask, like, with your experience, like I went from not seeing it to seeing it just as I've played it to hopefully, like we said, now seeing it. Have you heard that sort of progression before, Rick?
Not you're very good at verbalizing your what you see and how you play. So to answer your question, I have not had a student who said it like this, but I'm sure it works like this. It's all, again, it's pattern recognition, and and very often as well, that is also well known amongst chess players, that the moment you make a move, suddenly you release the piece, suddenly you see that it is a blunder. So that is very common. That happens a lot to every chess player.
It's like I played a game yesterday. Let's say where the rook is a1, and I was in check. And instead of going to, let's say, example D3, I went to E1, and then the rook came to H1, and I went. As soon as I put it to E1, I thought, as soon as that rook comes down, it's a skewer.
Yeah.
And I moved it, and he took my rook, and I just knew it. And I just as I played it, I can feel the calculations coming. It's not a lot, but I can, I'm better than what I was a few months ago, I think so.
Oh yeah. So what you just said, I'm sure that's the way it works. That you just recognize these things quicker.
Yeah.
And that will the stronger you get, the more that will help. As I say, doing these exercises, these sheets really helps with it as well. But I know that's fine. You're a player. You prefer to play, and that's, chess should be fun and a nice way to pass your time. So, but if you really want to accelerate that skill, then doing those sheets, there's really no substitute for it. Okay. Bishop d1, attacking the queen. Maybe he doesn't see it. Unfortunately, he has to check. King e3. Rook takes d1. Oh yeah, little tactic exercise here. Black has two ways to checkmate in one move.
Um, let's go for queen to e4.
Yeah, that is checkmate, indeed. King cannot go to f2. And what is another mate in one here?
Rook to e4.
Which rook?
The one on e8.
Yeah, exactly. Also check. Exactly. So little tactic exercise for you.
And then what I'd play next is pawn to f3. Ha.
Forking your pieces. How do you like them apples? Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, well, you took on d1 and you took and took. And here you resigned because you're the house down. So, yeah, not. He played really well. This guy is 971, but he played really well. He understood his opening quite well. This knight d4 is a nice move, very typical move in this type of position, putting pressure on your f3 knight, and he just won that battle on the pressure on f3 because you didn't find g4, and not finding g4, then you're really in trouble already. So he played it really well, and he finished it off really well once he had. So we have to give him credit, and
Of course, yeah.
so. Anything else on this game, Aaron, before we leave this one?
No.